Hi, so thank you for joining us on the Time with Rella podcast. So today, we have a guest on the show. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself and tell us what his organization is about.
Hi, my name is Daniel Abugre Anyorigya, and my expertise is in knowledge management, environment, and development communications. That's been my work, and I volunteer for various organizations. Most importantly, I would just state a few. For instance, I am the country lead for SOA Ghana, Sustainable Ocean Alliance Ghana, which Ella doesn't know about because I didn't even mention to her at the beginning. And these are volunteering roles. I also volunteer for various youth-led environmental groups in Ghana here, notably SYND, the Strategic Youth Network for Development, the Youth and Rec Platform, 350 Ghana reducing 350 Ghana. It used to be 350 Ghana reducing our carbon, but it's not 350 Ghana. So yes, it's a long list of organizations, but most importantly, I work within the environmental sector, and that's been an interest and something I pursued for a decade and more now. So yes, today we're here to talk and discuss, let's say conversation, on what I've been doing. And Ella asked me, why do you do what you do? I said, well, let's see how that will turn out in the conversation that we'll have today. But basically, I'm very excited about what I do, interacting with people and making an impact. I always say it's an individual social responsibility. So that is why you would see that I list these organizations. And yes, so Ella, I think I'm done.
Yes. So I actually met Daniel at the Climate Change Green Economic Week, Ghana. Yes, I was actually representing Special Atadre, which is my friend's business. But like I said, I really got interested. I told him that what actually interested me was when he told me they were making lamps. Yeah. Because I know about solar lamps. You get lamps that are powered through solar energy. But most of the time, when I look at it, it's more like you see on the expensive side. So when I actually got to meet somebody that was talking about, oh, they were teaching people how to make this, and they were also doing all that, I was like, okay, then I want to know, like my question I asked you, why do you do what you do? What inspires you? Or like, even now, I'm going to ask you that question. What was it that made you feel like, oh, this is the path that I want to take in my life? So I think that's my first question. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think basically I've had a keen interest in environment. For instance, in the Ghanaian education, we have something we call the environmental studies. It used to be a subject we learn in lower primary, upper primary, and GHS. So there's a subject like environmental studies. I like that subject so much. I was so like amazed with how nature and humans, technology live in harmony, and how sometimes humans feel superior, and decide to destroy it, and how nature becomes superior and destroys man. So it was like a whole kind of mixed, experience. It's like who is superior, who decides to do what at what time, And then also because also for my background as someone interested in telling stories, I asked what kind of stories would I want to tell. I like telling environmental stories, human rights stories. And then also for my community, which is Bongo Apatanga in the Upper East region of Ghana, we've experienced like deforestation, instances where even the chief has to make give a decree that no one should cut down trees I was asking, why shouldn't we cut down trees? The trees are there to sell, we are supposed to use for firewood and other purpose. So why shouldn't we cut trees? So when you cut a tree, you have to plant one. So beginning, these were some of the extreme, weather conditions, and I experienced extreme weather conditions, and I was wondering why was it so cold during Hamatan, and why is it so hot in Hamatan too, and why is it so dry? Did someone curse us? These were questions. I'm sure I should have maybe perhaps moved into the physical science to satisfy my curiosity. But then I satisfy my curiosity by telling stories and listening, understanding, and seeing how best I can make an impact. And that translated into me being a journalist, reporting environment and human rights, me volunteering to improve my skills in telling stories, to engage people of different background or region and experience, and to make sure that even speaking with Ella, if I wasn't being the environmental maybe or doing something related to renewable energy and environment, I'm not sure she would have not taken interest in listening to whatever I have to tell her. So, and also for her, I also be interested in understanding how she's telling the environmental story because she's using podcast, and I'm here telling my story as a storyteller. So it's like two storytellers coming together to tell you a long story. But in a nutshell, it's more of personally it's more about my commitment to ensure that as a journalist, I'm going to speak from that perspective, is to ensure that the environmental stories are documented and told in certain ways that people would appreciate it, so that they can commit themselves. I have a religious background, cultural background. I believe in traditional authorities and traditions a lot. And I've also understood that my culture, for instance, cuts across West Africa. It goes through about four African countries: Togo, Ghana, Burkina Faso, La Côte d'Ivoire. So I'm more like an international resident in Ghana here. But so how do we even tell the environmental story in Grone language, which is a language spoken in southern Burkina Faso, northern part of Ghana, and then part of Togo, because we trade and we go around that area, and then also La Côte d'Ivoire. So how do I tell the environmental story in a manner where people begin to appreciate and see the need to protect it and not destroy it, where people see it as a symbiotic relationship that rather than being a dependency relationship? So how do I tell the story? In what form and how? In what manner? So I use journalism. Other times I use open knowledge. I'm the co-founder of Grone Wikimedia Community. We are digitizing Grone. We are digitizing the Grone language, the people and its culture on open knowledge platforms like Wikipedia, Wikicommons, Wikidata, places where people go to read and consume information about places and people. So we are telling that story there. But then we also have an environmental component to tell you the Grone environmental story, where you learn about how we go about our agriculture, how we go about our things, how we conserve the environment, because basically the environment evolves around us. How we treat it determines how it also treats us. If we are fair to it, it would be fair to us. If we accept that we are living as co-tenants, it's better. Like how human beings see themselves as the we say we are the first class animals. It's funny. And when you ask the question, who owns the earth? For instance, let me ask Ella, who owns the earth?
That's an interesting question because, like I said, as you were talking, I was thinking of the fact that my answer is I don't know. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you. Yeah. Why, as you were talking
Mm.
about, you mentioned we think that we are higher or like we are like the higher class in quote animals, first class citizens of the earth. But one thing about, like you said, telling stories through podcasts, one thing that this time with Rella podcast is moving towards here is infusing, how do I put it? It's like bringing back our connection towards people and our environment. We are all about healing in this podcast. And the reason why I was so really interested about the environmental sector, the even coming to the climate change event, was that to heal ourselves, we need to also consider our environment. It's like even some of the things that I believe or I actually move towards is understanding that we come from the earth, we are a part of it. So it's like how even choosing to heal ourselves personally, our environment also plays a part in it because it's part of it produces what we are eating, the air we are breathing, everything is one, which is something that I believe, and that's why I'm pushing even for this conversation to actually, you know what, bring us more understanding to maybe how we are treating our environment actually affects us individually and like as a community. So who owns the earth? I don't know, but we come from the earth. Let me put it that way. Because even maybe I've watched like certain videos, I've read certain things, how they talk about maybe certain parts of our body, kind of like relating to diagrams in nature rather. How even when they are teaching you how to meditate, people tell you be still like the trees. You see, the trees are still and wind will blow. It is still where it is, basically. Even they tell you allow your emotions flow like water. Basically, so that's how I relate to the environment because I understand how important it is, how we as human beings, yeah, we're similar to how our environment functions. But I think like for a long time, there's been a disconnection between us and our environment rather. And then you mentioning that even the chief placed a decree on if you cut down, you must plant a tree. I think that is like is going to be a huge benefit to even us as people. But yeah, let me let you continue by telling us. Maybe you have an answer for the question. Me, I don't have. Okay. Let me leave that to you to answer.
Okay. You should have answered the question though. Are you not proud as a first class animal?
I don't personally I don't think I am higher than any other animal or the environment. I think that we all play a role in when I mean play a role, we are all functioning as we are. The environment is the environment, animals are animals, we are who we are. We have the opportunity maybe to express ourselves differently, like we can speak to each other. That doesn't mean like other animals don't have their ways of communicating. So when it comes to do I think no, I don't think so. I think it's just being who I am. I don't think I'm better than maybe animals that can't express themselves like I do. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So it's thanks so much for your answer. So it is an ecosystem here where people need to accept that the human being as honestly is not superior to any other animal. Religiously, yes, they would say, yeah, religiously, humans are up there. Scientifically, really, no, not really, because the earth will still function without human beings. The human being is not
That's true.
igniting, it's igniting change to satisfy itself and sustain itself. It's just like the conflicts and the wars we have. When you check in every conflict that happens, there's component about survival. So humans are struggling to survive or working on surviving. That's the same thing for the environment. So I would say that mostly, depending on where the perspective is coming from, religiously, you would say who owns the earth? You would say perhaps God. Not even human beings might not come. You say God owns the earth, but most importantly, for even religious perspective, you also have text or even instructions from the supreme being telling people to conserve and protect the earth, telling people what to use to cure themselves, what to use to be fruitful, what to use to be a blessing. But what we call selective exposure. You decide to expose yourself to only certain portions of the Holy Scriptures or to certain beliefs of your religion and ignore other aspects. It's like how an individual would say, well, my religion forbids fornication, womanizing, alcoholism, but I only tackle alcoholism because personally you think that alcoholism might destroy your lungs, liver, and things and your whole body, but you go along with womanizing and fornication. So it becomes selective exposure, deciding what to do with yourself with the portion of the scripture. So from every angle that you look at it, realize that even there's still a component that tells us that there's a need for us to protect the environment. And that is one reason I always like to tackle environmental issues from so many perspectives. I don't believe there's a one-stop solution for any environmental issue we are dealing with. For instance, climate change. You can't deal with climate change from just one perspective to say, stop environmental degradation. That doesn't solve the problem. It's like also saying, for instance, stop using coal. That doesn't solve the problem. You are saying stop using fossil fuel. But as far as you're saying that stop using fossil fuel, that means you're going to look for other minerals. And how do you get those minerals? You have to dig. You have to destroy the environment. Let me put it that way so plainly. You have to destroy the environment to get those minerals in order to have your lithium battery, in order to have your solar panel, have your turbines, have your those components. These are critical minerals. So in a conversation about environmental protection, we have to look at it from so many sides. And that brings us to the point about the just transition. What I have been working around lately, that people need to be informed. When AI has been in existence, just that, let me put it, when ChatGPT, let me put it that way, when ChatGPT broke the internet, before ChatGPT, robots were just already in place. When AI got into became topical, people who were doing white collar jobs started shivering. Hey, they are taking my job. They are taking my job. Hollywood itself, every other industry, everyone began shaking. If you don't upgrade, you get out. So we have to upgrade. And that transition means that we needed to tackle it from various perspectives, where there's development and there's growth in phases where you're less appreciated. So here is the same thing about energy, it's the same thing about renewable and environment. Because AI is taking white collar jobs, people are shivering. It's the same thing that when we look at environment, sometimes some of the renewable, like for instance, the renewable energy we are pushing might make some blue collar jobs outdated and they will lose their jobs. So they'll also be shivering and shaking. How do you address that? You need to tackle it from various perspectives. That's why there was a word coined as the just transition, where people don't just move just because you have to move or you've seen a new gold, but then you move sustainably. That word has been abused. Sustainably, where you are making progress systematically without having, not that you want to be too cautious, but then you're moving in a way that doesn't cost you more than the benefits. There's always a cost to transition. There's always a cost to development, but making sure that the cost when you weigh the cost and the benefits outweighs the cost. Like how we talk about renewable energy, nuclear energy. Why don't we go for nuclear energy? Because when you recall what happens in other countries with nuclear energy, it's like, Ghana shouldn't go for renewable energy, go for nuclear energy. Let's go for solar. That is why you hear a lot about solar, but not that we don't have the capacity to explore nuclear energy. We have. So in light of this, we run so many projects at 350 Ghana where we are seeking to help the government attain its 10% renewable energy mix by 2030. That's the target. But our goal is to integrate renewable energy in every facet of life here in Ghana and across the globe. So we have projects such as the Renewable for Schools. We have Renewable for and Energy for Women, ARI for Women. We also have Solar for Slums, a project I lead. And we have projects on activism for schools. These are programs targeting various aspects of our community. Because you need to understand, as I said, when AI started taking white collar jobs, people started shaking. It's the same way when you're pushing for renewable energy, it's also going to take the jobs of people within a certain industry or within a certain sector. You quite remember how the industrial revolution happened. When we moved from agrarian economy into industrialized economy, a lot of people became unemployed. There was a shift in the family system. Then from the industrialized to what we have the technology, and then we are getting to another phase again. So when there's a revolution, there'll certainly be a cut. People will feel it. People will go home. Women are involved. Children are involved. Men are involved. Persons with disabilities are involved. How do you work with all these people to ensure that they shouldn't be ignorant, but they should be informed such that they have the knowledge capable to move them through the transition phase? So that is why these projects touch on them. So, for instance, with women, we have a project that addresses their needs. Let me put it that way. So, women could be any woman in the blue sector economy, could be any woman in the white collar job. So the white collar jobs, the blue collar jobs, each and every person would be engaged in. So how do you participate in the green economy? Perhaps you want to go into not only there is renewable energy, but you want to be perhaps in the supply chain. It's renewable energy, perhaps you want to be in the production chain. It's renewable energy, you may want to be in the warehouse or the raw the raw sector, the raw material sector. So in that phase, if one is not informed, it becomes a challenge for the individual to even make decisions. So providing these options to these target audiences gives them the power to weigh the options and to know where and when to move. So some might want to be educators, some might want to be engineers. Now, when you're influencing these younger folks, it gives them career options about thinking about even moving into I will say, the hardcore aspect, where we teach them how to assemble a simple solar bulb. So if a young person between the ages of 8 and 17, let me put it that way, is able to assemble a solar bulb, it means that the person can create these things within the house, within his community. And we're always saying that impact shouldn't be looked at only at national level. Whatever impact you make within the local level feeds into the national development. So
I agree.
If you are able to impact, let's say, a portion of Greater Accra, let's say maybe a community like Mamprobi in Greater Accra region. Now, the people of Mamprobi in Greater Accra region have started using renewable energy. Example, solar. Who created it? Whose product are they using? They're using a product done by one of their children in the community. So it becomes an innovation where they've harnessed. Now, the impact in Mamprobi would slowly start spreading to adjoining communities like Olebu, Choko, Jamestown, Latabi Okoshi, Banana Inn, Dansuman, getting close to Malam. It starts spreading because impact doesn't have to be like a hypodermic needle where I'm going to inject it into your body, then all of a sudden there's a whole transformation. It's like a zombie thing. But then the issuing of medication, like taking drugs in bits, that's how it is. Administering it one at a time and observing and assessing, because change in a certain area will not be the same change, wouldn't get the same reaction from another community that might even speak the same language. So in these two cases, we are able to now assess properly and say, well, what do we do then? Okay, now let's have something for slums. Now, you see, one thing about these new inventions is that we often forget about marginalized people, especially if they're in a community. So we might want to look at a community like Osu, yes, nice and cozy, Dansuman. I'm looking at coastal communities now, Teshi, Sempe, and others. But then you then forget that there are also slums within these areas. It's an urban area, so you have a slum. And I always say that a slum is an international community, because in a slum you find every ethnic group, you find every nationality. Should I say not every? Let's say most or a lot. Every would be an exaggeration, but there's a lot of you have a lot of ethnic groups, you have a lot of nationalities spread across from Africa and beyond Africa. Because in the same slum community, you meet women, men, persons with disability, children, highly educated, less educated, literates, illiterates, as mixed. So whichever aspect of whether you're looking at it from the educational perspective or economic perspective, you would find them there. Are you looking for a Christian? You find them. A Muslim, you find them. A pagan, you find them. An atheist, you find them. A traditionalist, you would find them there. So a slum community, I always say that is an international community, but then there's a planning that is slum. So we decided to move to a community as such to interact with them, because they need to get exposed to this. And every other person that you want to engage in can be found in the slum. So in interacting with them, it's like interacting with the world. And for instance, in Old Fadama, we found out that there were 16 ethnic groups in there. 16 ethnic groups, and they had chiefs, and the chiefs had subordinates who are properly recognized. They had youth chiefs amongst them too. They had the political wings among them. They had the NPP, had the NDC. I didn't even add the politics. So it's an international. You have everyone involved. Now, how do you make an impact? Now, when we engage them, we then realize that since we've moved in this light, we are witnessing a change, and the change here is that people started asking questions about how they can even learn the trade. I don't know whether you experienced the session where there was a period in Ghana within our technological transition in the TV aspect. There was a period where people got interested in learning how to put satellite dishes. They went for training to learn how to bring the dishes, set them up in people's homes, and that was an alternative source of income to them. So that's the same thing if you're dealing with renewable energy, that in that period, it's also a phase where people can also get as an alternative livelihood for them. So alternative livelihood, then also exposing the children to certain literature about renewable energy, influencing career choices, educating the older folks and letting them know that they can participate by also creating the opportunity for this to happen. Yeah, so it's been a blend. And so far, when you go to schools, the impact is so great. Look, the kids are excited because they see them on TV, they see them on
Yeah.
YouTube, they see them on social media. But now you brought it to them. They can touch it. You know how children are immediately able to create something and it's functional. They become
Yeah,
like,
and
"Eh."
to cut it, it's like representation. Yeah, they get to see that it's possible in their own environment, apart from maybe seeing it on TV and in another country. So yeah, I think
Mhm,
the representation
mhm.
is very important.
So it becomes a reality to them and they become curious and even saying that, you know what, they're going to create one for their library. They're going to create one for their schools. They're going to create one for their parents, their mothers, their fathers, their siblings. So they begin to accept the reality about moving in that direction as compared to speaking big English and signing deals and expecting to see change and expecting people to react to whatever you put it out there. It's a problem. Yeah, so it's a phase and we are certainly getting there. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for everything you shared. Like I actually when I was my main struggle was that, you know what, we know about the solar. Yeah. But my struggle was that, you know what, like you said, not just transition, that's praise, is like, how are we going to make it accessible, yeah, to maybe people of a, you're saying moms, people should stop using coal to cook and whatnot. So what other alternative are you making available for them? So from your own experience and journey, yeah, what would you say makes maybe the change stall a little bit? I don't know, it's changing, things are changing a little, people are getting more informed, but like, what do you think makes it a little slower, and what can, maybe not just on, also on the national level, how can people get more into this? How, and you mentioned education, yeah, but okay, going to schools, but what of the older people? Yeah, because now you're talking about having projects, going to different communities. How is that? How is it so possible for you? Is it possible for you to even be able to travel to all the regions in Ghana? Or like, what other ways can we contribute to spreading more information to people, that even because social media is here, the internet is here, how can we get more people more educated on these things? I mean, because I know there are other options to maybe using coal or kerosene. Because even during the exhibition I went to, there's some people exhibiting other forms or like ways of making food that they don't have to use coal or like kerosene. So, how would you, from your experience, what stalls that change a little, and then what can we do? Because we have social media, and also, since you have students in your project and you say that going to schools have like a great impact, a lot of them have TikTok, I know, but like, and I see, if you look at maybe content from people outside, they are very passionate about things like this. But what of us here in Ghana, in Nigeria, in Africa? How can we also use these things to spread more information to people from your perspective?
I, I think I would advise that people should learn how to collaborate and partner. So learning how to collaborate and partner is key to having greater impact. And I think that is what a lot of organizations are failing to do. Partnering with the right people, partner. That's a key thing. If people fail to partner, it wouldn't make success. So it's a deal we have to work with. People need to learn to partner because I can't go to all communities, just as you said. But then, and maybe perhaps my budget cannot contain that. But if another person sees it and wants to adapt it, can adapt it. If the person comes to me for help, should I be willing to help? Yes, I should be
Like this
because
podcast
the impact is not
conversation we
going
are
to be.
having.
Yeah. Yes. You understand. So just like how we're having. I told you, like, we are two storytellers having to come on this podcast to tell stories. But today here I am on another storyteller's platform for me to tell my story. So it's in that regard that when we see it in that manner, it's progressive. It's very retrogressive thinking where people are hesitant to partner, to collaborate. And all they think about is their glory and their self gratification. Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned partnership because that's like collaboration. And I think that we've moved from a place of maybe spotlight to more of combining resources, collaboration, even for businesses. When you're talking about marketing, then sometimes we encourage brands to partner with maybe influencers or certain people that are passionate about these things. So in my own ways of partnering through the podcast, I hope that maybe sharing this on my platform can get people to listen, to be more interested in what we are talking about because our environment I feel like we are coming, but I don't think that people understand the gravity of the way we treat our environment and how it will influence even our health. I think, like I said, I feel like for a long time there's been this disconnect. So that's why maybe it's kind of like stalling. To close up this conversation, what are the things that okay from everything that I've asked? I know this is like one of the shortest episodes I've done, but what didn't I ask that you would like to share or like people to know?
Um, I think people should learn to appreciate culture and its relevance, and so culture and personally uh, and its impact on environmental related activities or people that whatever happens was basically documented in our tradition. So most of our cultures are not properly documented because a lot of them are oral history. So people should pay attention to that and harness those potentials.
Okay.
And Ghanaians should be ready to tell their story. They should be ready to tell their story. I think that's the biggest problem. People are doing a lot, making an impact. I know people, it's not about self-glory, but stories inspire people accepting. So they should how to call it? What is this word? I want to be just just in a word. Um, the English is not English, so I'll leave it there. But they understand.
Yeah, I think that's even something I mentioned about representation. When you see when you hear a story maybe from your ancestors, your culture, and see how far you've come, I think that inspires younger people to do something or to um, think it's possible from their perspective. I mean, that's how I see it. So, where can we find more information on the projects you're working on? How can people volunteer? How can they take part in some of the things you talked about?
People can reach me on my email, Daniel Ayorigya at gmail.com. That's where I can be reached. Then they can also visit some of the websites, volunteer places I've been working for instance, 350 GROC that is the goals of 50, which is an international organization. So, hi, good evening. So that's it for me. So 350.org.
Mm. So it was fun having this conversation with you. I got to learn actually a few things, especially about culture. I got to learn that there are about other places that I haven't been to yet. But anyway, thank you for coming on the podcast. Yeah, I hope maybe in future we may do another one that, or maybe another project you're working on. Hopefully. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your stories with us.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.